This is Charlie. This is Steve. That's all right.
Stevie.
Stevie can be in the shot too.
Come on, Stevie.
For Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder, Stevie Nicks.
All right, there we go. All right, and this is this is Charlie's roadmap to success. This is a bully stick. These are better than, much better than, this is a dried bull's penis, the tip of it. But this is actually much better than using rawhides. A lot of people use those, don't realize they're soaked in formaldehyde, bleach, ammonia, a lot of other nasty chemicals. Because dogs ingest them, it can actually lead to a lot of health issues. Bully sticks are pieces of dried bull's penis. They're very healthy for dogs. One of the things we talked about in the session was giving him some appropriate things to chew on. These are called bully bites. I get them from The Natural Dog Company. I'm emphasizing the because there's another natural dog company that makes like an ointment for their nose. So these are low odor, and you will appreciate that they are low odor. They are more expensive than other ones you can get, but there's a reason for it. Your nose will thank you. So I would get, these are bully bites. I would get a bag of bully bites. It should be about 10 to 16 bucks. You probably get them on Amazon or just, Chewy or somewhere like that. But get them from the Natural Dog Company, Bully Bites, and make sure that they're low odor, odor free. So giving him one or the two of these a day to chew on, especially when he's really stressed, can be very helpful. If you have a guest come over, this would be a wonderful time for him to get one. So the only time I get one of these special chewies is when there's somebody else that I maybe am not super wild about being there. That's almost a version of counter conditioning. So good things happen when people come and visit. So hence I start to look forward to it. Now the Guardian here is moving across the country and to a market that I don't go to very often. I'm happy to go there, but it'd be pretty expensive. So she had already worked with another trainer, I'm gonna say another, I'm not a trainer, but that they sounded like they were doing some good things. So we kind of skipped a lot of the things. So I'm gonna kind of go through some of the stuff I normally go through with all my clients here so you kind of have access to it. First thing we talked about was exercise. He needs more exercise. The Guardian here is doing a really good job. She's exercising 3 or 4 times a day. Most of my clients don't exercise their dog, they're like 3 or 4 times a week. So he's getting good exercise, but we can increase that a little bit. Try using a laser, see if he'll chase that. Try to throw treats down a hallway and just get him to run and get the treat. That's a nice way to do it. Running with him would be a good option for you as well. Now that we showed you how to use the special twist of the martingale, that might be beneficial. But exercising him before he's going to go on a walk is something people don't ever consider. But exercising your dog before a walk really results in a much better walk sometimes. I'd also like you to kind of be cognizant of your walks. Try to walk him at times where there's less likelihood of running into other dogs or people or things that he's going to be reactive to. We call that maintenance. We just don't want him to practice that. Speaking of maintenance, yeah, we got some nose prints here. So basically people come in the door and he charges the door and he probably barks and bites a little bit at the window. Well, maintenance is basically preventing the dog from practicing behavior, because what happens if the delivery guy comes and he starts barking like crazy, and as soon as he starts barking, it looks like the delivery guy goes away. He's like, well, clearly I saved the day. When I bark, they leave. So look how powerful my bark is. Well, and he sees the visual component of the person walking up, which causes him to freak out even more. So maintenance is really blocking the dog's access. So what I would do is I would go get some pieces of paper and I would cut them so they fit these top or these lower 6 panes. So when he comes here, even if he's on his hind legs, he can't see out the window. So he doesn't get the visual reward of being able, and you can put your blinds down, but then you don't have the ability to look through your window, and we like sunlight. We're taller than the dog, so all you have to do is just the bottom portion of the window, and then you could have the benefit of that. Now, if he tears them off, just put the paper on the other side. Also, one of my puppy class instructors, who is a mom, is more domesticated than me, that says you can go to Lowe's and Home Depot, and they have like frosted stuff you can put. It's a sticker, but I don't like using those as much as the paper because you can still see a shape on the other side, but the paper doesn't. And the paper just really acts like a filter. It allows a little bit of light to come through, but the dog can't get the visual, and it doesn't practice going and barking and thinking it's saving the day. Okay, so we also talked about rules. The rules I usually suggest not being allowed in the furniture for at least 3 months, if not more, as long as the problem's going on. And so it might be 6 or 7 months. Remember, breaking a rule to reward a dog is extraordinarily confusing for them and actually causes frustration. That can lead to stress, that can lead to aggression. So I would get a dog bed, and if you don't know how to use the dog bed, message me. I have a video I can show you how to do that very, very easily. I like getting dog beds on Groupon. Get the one on Groupon that is either white, light cream, or light gray. Dog's eyes are not very, and no pattern. Dog's eyes are not very good for color. They're colorblind. They say everything in blue, gray, yellow spectrum. They also, their eyes are not very good for detail. So there's a pattern on it. They might not be able to see the treat. And that's the way that I do it, is I throw treats on the dog bed. So I always like to give the dog a dog bed when we take away the furniture, so they have a designated place to sleep. Now it's Venice, it's summertime. He's a black-coated, longer dog, so he probably feels good, nice to lay on the cool hardwood floor. We get to the wintertime, the Guardian's not going to be in Venice. It might be a little bit cooler. The dog bed will be a little bit more interesting. I like getting the Sealy Posturepedic or the memory foam ones. Try to get one that looks like a cushion. A lot of people get one that like has little crevices or it looks like a duvet cover. And when you throw a treat, it can get hidden on there. So make sure it's just kind of more rigid. Now we can unzip it, wash the shell if he gets it dirty, and makes it last longer. Okay, so other rules we talked about, eating is the most important activity for dogs. So we're gonna make sure that before the human eats, she's gonna eat something first. Now what I do, and if you wanna find this video on my website, just go to Dog Training Tips and click on the section, and then on the right side of the page or the bottom of the page, there's search boxes, type in structured feeding, and it'll show how I do this. Basically, I put the food down, the dog's not allowed to eat it, then I eat something. Right now he goes to his kennel. He shouldn't have to do that, just he can't go in the kitchen or be within 7 feet of his food. Then I'm gonna eat something in 5 bites, could be 5 tiny bites of a cracker. Then I'm gonna give him permission to eat his food. Once he starts eating, I'm gonna use passive training and come up with a funny word, call it chimichanga or whatever the word is you wanna use. So for 3 months, every time he takes his first bite of food, he hears that one command word. Eventually that becomes a command word to eat. Now if he goes and sniffs it and says, I don't really feel like eating, it's one of those days he walks away. As soon as he walks away, pick it up, dump it empty, and put the empty bowl back on the ground. It is important to put the empty bowl back on the ground. And then no food again until the next meal, unless you're using trained treats. Speaking of trained treats, make sure you're priming the clicker. He was thrown off by the clicker because I don't think the Guardians use a clicker in a while. So the clicker is, we prime the clicker, we just throw 10 treats on the ground. Every time he licks up the treat, we click. That maybe 3 or 4 times a day, today and tomorrow, and you should be good to go. One of the things, and I'm going to get back to the rules, but one of the things I like the Guardian to start doing is clicking, having treats, and every time he looks at her in the face, click and give him a treat and say eyes, or gaze, or whatever the word is that you want to use to mean looking up at. Now we also went over a focus exercise. You can also find that on doggonproblems.com. Just type in focus. There's hundreds of those. I've done those with so many people. And message me if you have any questions about either one of those. Going back to rules, he should not be allowed in the kitchen when you're preparing food. He should not be allowed to eat around 7 feet around you when you are eating food. Even if he's not begging, his proximity is inappropriate. The Guardian's going to eat something before she feeds him so that he sees her having more rank. Another rule I have is at the door. The dog has to sit before I open the door. I go to the door, I say sit once. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, I walk away, sit down, and become preoccupied with something else. After 1 minute, I go back to the door and command him to sit again, only one time. If he doesn't sit this time, I walk away for 2 minutes, next time for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. Keep doubling the length of time till eventually when you say sit, boom. Eventually, he'll actually come and start sitting at the door as his way of saying, like, I'd like to go outside. Now, when you're going outside, you can use the same technique that there's a video I'm going to explain here in a second. You can also find, I would just search for calm leash. Now, you can use the same principle, and I showed you how to do this at the door. So we think of opening the door as one activity, but it's actually a whole bunch of individual steps. And I want you to think of this as really kind of an approach for all sorts of different things. If my dog is not behaving the way I want, ask myself, have I taught the dog how it's supposed to behave? If I haven't, then it's incumbent upon me to teach the dog. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break the activity down into the smallest possible steps and help the dog practice step 1 over and over and over again until it's automatically doing what I want. Only then do I go to step 2 and practice until step 2 is automatic. Then I go to step 3. And so the idea is by breaking down individual activities, the dog's like, oh, it's boring. I mean, when we used to go, you open the door, we walked out. Now I got to sit here and watch you reach for it, pull your hand back, reach for it, pull. Now you're touching the damn thing. Yep. We're teaching you how we want you to behave. And we're doing a very easy session so you can absorb it and gain confidence from this. And so eventually you do all the steps individually, the dog does it, then you do them all together, but without the presence of a delivery person there or anything that's going to make it more difficult. Always look for a way to make it easier and break it down into individual steps. Now, I also want you to think of this rule at the door as something that I want you to apply to other things as well. And I want you to think of it as an equation. The summary conclusion of this equation is the dog gets to go outside, gets to go through the door. In order to achieve that, it has to do something to earn it. Sitting. Remember, sitting and laying down are more subordinate body postures. And so teaching your dog to sit can be really helpful. He didn't want to sit outside at a couple of places. And that the more that we help him practice sitting inside, the easier it will be for him to do it outside. So eventually do it with both directions for the door, and make sure you stop every time you cross the street or any other door you go into. Make sure you stop and sit, but practice it here first. Don't try to do it at Starbucks, because then you have to sit there waiting outside Starbucks to go through the door. All right, so let me see. Other rules. I think that's pretty much it for rules. We also talked about petting with purpose and passive training. And going back to rules real quick, you can use the X mats for the couch and the rest of that stuff. But don't be afraid to add other rules in. If there's things that he gets really worked up about, incorporate some rules for that activity, help him practice this. Now, the leashing process is kind of similar to when I was talking about the door. So if you go and search for calm leash, there's a dog, I think the last one that I worked with was in Westwood, I can't remember where it was, but basically the dog got really excited in the process of pulling up the leash and going to the door. If the dog's overexcited, excited is not necessarily happy. Excited is when we're going to make more mistakes. If I'm going to have surgery, the last thing I want my surgeon to be is excited. So I want him to be calm for all these things. So recreating the situation out of context of wanting to go makes it easier. So if I'm going out to go get some coffee, I'm already thinking, I've got this much time, I gotta go. Well, now the dog's not, I gotta stop for the dog, and I resent it. So when it's commercial break, well, we don't watch TV in this house, but if you're reading and you want to take a break, put the book down, go over, walk to the doors, tell him to sit, or walk to pick up where the leash is. As soon as he gets excited, walk away, or stop the process. You're not actually planning on going for a walk, so if you stop, it's no skin off your nose. But the more you get in the habit of doing this, the more that he understands the only way to do it is her way. And she's not going to yell at me, she's not going to say the word over and over again, it just stops. So I'm the one that screwed up. Remember, the more you say it, the less you mean it. So if your dog's not responding, then that probably is a good indication we need to practice that in an easier version of it, so the dog can practice that over and over again until it knows how to behave the way that we want. Now, we also talked about petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose, he doesn't really do it because I think his guardian pets him so much he doesn't really have to ask for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop petting him. If we want to pet him, we're going to tell him to sit, or if he nudges us, we're going to give him a counter order, tell him to sit. If he's already sitting, tell him to lie down. Once he does that, we're going to pet him under his chin, and we're going to say sit or down or whatever the command word is. One time, we're going to say it, and we pet him as much or as little as we want. We have to pet him at least once, but as much or as little as we want. After a while, he's going to start realizing that when he tells the human what to do, nothing happens. But if he wants a pet, he has to go sit down to prepay for it. And that's what he'll start doing. He'll start coming and sitting in front of you to prepay for attention. When he does, make sure you pet him under his chin, say the word sit and only the word sit, and not this different inflection, and then pet him as much or as little as you want. Leaders tell, followers ask. I want him to identify as more of a follower. So after a while, he'll just start prepaying for that attention. Now, if you do have somebody, a life partner, somebody that comes in the equation, make sure you use the word paycheck if you suspect someone's petting without a purpose. Even if that person did it the right, I left the room, I came back, and you're just petting him, and he's standing up, I say paycheck, you have to stop petting him. You tell him to sit. When he sits, sit. Pet him under his chin, say sit. And then you can explain to the person, actually I asked him to sit when you flushed the toilet, he stood up, and I continued petting, David said so loud. But it's just a gentle reminder because we don't realize how often we pet without a purpose. We also went over passive training. Passive training is waiting for him to organically offer you the behavior that you want without any influence for you. So every time he comes to you, pet him and say come. Every time he sits, pet him and say sit. Every time he grumbles, you can call it grumble or sing. Anytime he brings you a toy, name that individual toy. He doesn't have a lot of toys, but maybe antler, nylon, water buffalo, whatever it is. You can teach him to weird stuff. Every time he takes a drink of water, say agua. Every time he takes his food, you say chimichanga. Every time he stretches, pet him and say stretch. Stretch is actually something I would recommend you do. I do it for my dogs because this is called a play bout. When they put their chest on the ground, their butt in the air, that's an invitation for other dogs to come and play with me. So if you can actually trigger that, if there's another dog barking, I want to be able to tell my dog to stretch, and they stretch. Well, the other dog's like, oh, I read that wrong. I thought he was giving me the bird. He actually wants to play. Oh, never mind. So sometimes you can actually help with that sort of thing. See, he just froze right there. Freezing, remember, freezing is a good, big indicator. I'm conserving all my energy. I'm ready to strike. So if you see him freeze, look around your environment. Oh, can you stop? My he's a rescue dog. He's a little reactive. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do something called a conditioned emotional response, or a CER. And a CER is what I use if a dog doesn't like the collar or the leash. You can use this for the camera. You mentioned he's camera shy. Actually, let's see. Can you grab the other phone? Oh, you can use that one too.
Oh.
No, either one of them will work. I just need any phone. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do, now he's kind of treated out. I'm going to try to give him one. We'll see how it works. A conditional emotional response is really to get the dog to just respond. And can you see me in the shot?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me move it. There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, so sit. Charlie. Sit. Charlie. Okay, we'll give you what you want. It's right here. This is what you want. Yeah. Yeah, suddenly you're interested. So you need to find treats that he really likes. So what we want to do is have him sitting in front of you. Sit. Doesn't have to be sitting. I just find it easier. So I'm going to have the phone or the muzzle in my hand, and this hand is full of treats. So I put him behind my hand. I go like this. He looks at it. I drop a treat, and it goes away. And wait for him to look at me again. Charlie. That's a little avoidance. Now he does a lot of this. I don't want his guardian to pet him when he bellies up. That's too submissive. So for CER, what you do is you pull it out, he looks at it, you pull it away, and drop the treat on the ground. And you just keep on doing this. Eventually, he'll start touching with his nose. And then with the muzzle, what you do is I put the treat in the muzzle, then I have the dog come over and take it out and walk away. And do that like 15 or 20 treats. Then he sticks his nose in. After he gets the treat, I might hold it up on his, and then I take it just for half a second, then I take it off. And we keep repeating this process. Similar to what I talked about the door, breaking it down to individual steps, helping him practice each step until he's confident or it behaves the way we want. Only then do we go to the next step. Eventually, you get to the point where you can actually attach the muzzle and then take it off. And keep on doing that. For the camera, just go like this, boom, boom, boom. And you might even, when he gets the treat, you might call it pose. So now you have a command word. You say pose, he looks up at you. Actually, if you're going to do the pose, I would, when you go like this, I would put the treat in his mouth instead of dropping on the floor. Otherwise, he's going to be looking down the floor. For the pose means look down. That's not what we want. And eventually, when you can put the muzzle on him, the first couple times I put the muzzle on, I'm just feeding the dog treats almost nonstop through the muzzle. And then I take it off. I do that 5 or 6 times until eventually you can put it on him and he hangs out. They can drink out of it, they can eat out of it. We want him to feel comfortable, relaxed, and just mean every time the muzzle comes on, I'm just getting a copious amount of treats. Only after he's very relaxed and he's worn it quite a bit in the house for progressively longer and longer periods of time, only then would I start walking him. Now, when you're walking him, make sure you have to really be cognizant of him. Right now, he's the biter, but he puts him at a big disadvantage. So don't let him meet other dogs when he's got the muzzle on at first. I mean, if you want to do it, message me and we'll come up with a scenario to make that happen. But we want him, because he's at a disadvantage, and I don't want him to feel insecure about it. But because he's a cute dog and everybody comes and wants to put their face in his face and they don't listen to you, having a muzzle on him, even if you're not paying attention, your guard is lowered, he can't do any damage. And most people will see a muzzle and will stay away from the dog and will ask, oh my God, what's the muzzle for? He's a rescue dog. He's sometimes a little unpredictable. People want to pet him, and sometimes he bites him. He's a cute little boy. Now, something else I'd like you to do is if you have treats, I like to have one of these things. You clip it on your belt, and I can have a bunch of treats in it. This is from PetSafe. This is the mini version, and I tried a bunch of them. This is the one I like. It also has a little pocket here where I can put like a clicker, or I can put poop bags, or different types of treats, or whatever it is. So when you're out and about and he meets people, it'd be nice if you could. People say, "Can I pet him? Would you like to give him a treat?" He doesn't like people petting him, but he loves treats. Oh, sure. And they have them ask him to sit, and then they give him a treat. And it's a treat that he's already had, and say the word sit for them if they don't say it after it goes in his mouth. So now when I meet people, they don't touch me, but they do give me treats. Another great thing to do is teach him how to catch. So does he know how to catch? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a great thing when you have guests come over. I would give them about 10 treats and have them he has to sit before you throw the treat. Sit, then you throw the treat. And now he starts catching. He can catch from whatever distance he feels comfortable with. And after a while, then when people come over, I get a bully stick, and then we play this catch game. We go for a walk together. Man, it's the best time ever. And when you do have people come over, what I would do is I would exercise them first, if you're not sure how it's going to go. Have them call you when they're outside, and then basically I would maybe leave some treats out there so you can do that trail of treats like I showed you when we first came out. And then they lead up, and they only have to do like 6 or 7 treats. They get to the person's sitting down, and when he approaches them from the side. Front facing, remember, is confrontational. So you approach, the person should hold the treat out to the side, let him lick off the treat. When he does, then give him another treat before they stand up. If they give a treat and then people stand up, then I don't feel like reacting quite so much. and then just walk around the block or walk 5 or 6 houses like we did and turn around and come back. And then after a while, it'd be nice if when you're on that walk, you hand them the leash halfway through the walk. So they come back in, he's got the leash. Oh, well, this is different. And so we just want to have, there's a lot of distractions in the walk, which makes it easier. Charlie? Which makes it easier for him to not focus on one specific thing. Their dogs also process things by literally moving forward, which we're achieving with the walk. And then he meets in a place where there's infinite number of escape routes. In here, there's only one escape route. That makes everything a little bit more amplified. All right. Now the video above is on counter conditioning. That I want you to make a list like we talked about on walks or anytime he reacts. I want you to pull out your phone. I want to have a Charlie file and just write down the date, the time of the day, what was going on, what the person looked like, what else was going on in the immediate proximity, what kind of mood he was in, all the rest of that fun stuff. And that way you can have a list of things that you know you need to help him desensitize and follow the steps that are in the video above. I'd also like you to get in a habit of studying him when he's nice and relaxed. Look at what his ears are, his tail is, and his overall body mechanic when he is in what we call a neutral position. And so once we know what his neutral position is, then we can start seeing, oh, his ears are back. He's licking his lips. He's turning his head to the side or whatever it is. And then you can start studying when you know he's reactive. Also try to look at him if you get a thing. Where was his tail? Where was his eyes and ears? Another little trick for this is to have somebody filming you when you go out and meet some people so you can actually see the things he does right before he reacts or strikes or whatever the case may be. Let me see, what else? We also talked about click for looks. So remember to prime that clicker and then have the clicker and have a copious amount of treats. And just every time that he looks up at you, click and give him the treat and say eyes or whatever the word is. Eventually, you can have your guest do the same thing. So your guest just kind of hanging out. He's got a clicker and a handful of treats. If your guest is paying attention, every time he looks at your guest clicks and gives him a treat and says eyes. So now you start saying, well, looking at people is actually a good thing. It can be a challenge in the dog world, but now we're creating a positive association. Also, he kind of ducks his head down a lot, so make sure you don't pet him on top of his head, pet him under his chin. But if you ever notice he's kind of lowering his head or rolling over, stop engaging with him. Don't chastise him, don't say anything. But just like when you do those sort of things, that causes me to move away. And after a while, or just stop petting him. After a while, he likes the petting, so he's going to continue doing the things that get you the attention. I actually have a post for a dog where every time you reach for it, the dog would duck. So we would stop and pull back. I was like waiting here, waiting, why are you not petting me? So he looks up and we start reaching again. And he ducks and we pull back. It took about 8 or 10, or I don't remember how many it was, but eventually the dog's like, so as soon as I duck, you stop petting me? Okay, I'll keep my head up. Then we start petting here. And if he tries to shrug off, that's the only type of force I do. I'm like, you shut up and take that positive reinforcement. But the rest of the time, we want him to feel empowered. And when you are having people that interact with him, if you feel comfortable having them pet, if you don't feel comfortable, then it should not happen. But if you feel comfortable, I would tell people, you know what we like to do is we like him to actually to initiate the pet. So if you'd like to pet him, reach for him and stop about 12 inches away from his nose. And if he turns his head, backs up, or lowers his head, or moves away, that's his way of saying, I would appreciate you don't touch me. And the more that you don't do that, the more that he feels that you're listening to him, and that he doesn't have to react or stop these things themselves. And was photobombed us there. And but after a while, then he feels more confident with that person because I don't have to nip. I think that's where his nipping behavior came from, is he didn't like people petting him. People pet him anyways, and so he started nipping, and that caused him to stop petting. Well, eureka, this is how to stop it. So the more that he feels empowered, and the more that we put him in situations where he feels like if he says no, they listen, the less I feel like that I need to do those sort of things. Now, because you're going to be going, I don't say where people are going, but back east could be pretty much the entire United States. I had left. So I talked to somebody who's like, oh, you're from back east. The guy was from Vegas. Well, I guess from Venice, Vegas is back east. But so basically, the Guardian's going to be further away. And so if you have any questions or problems, please text me or call me. I have thousands of free training videos for all sorts of different stuff. Even though I won't be able to come to you directly, I probably can help you and send you videos of other dogs that can help. And if I don't hear from you, I assume that means everything's going great. So please let me know if that is the case. Charlie, you want another one of these, buddy? It's like, I already got one. Charlie, come here, buddy. That's a big one. I thought the big one might get Charlie. I'm not going to give you this big one. This is a big bull penis. We're going to give you another little one. Charlie, come here. Well, this is Charlie, and this is Charlie's roadmap. Thank you for Charlie looking at the camera. And this is Charlie's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.